sort of the breakout deck of this weekend. I know Martin Jews is into top 4 of Grand Prix Bochum right now with the same deck. Brad Nelson here sitting at 11-1-1. A turn 2 Somberwald stage. Can we see a turn 3 hoof? There it is.
Hoof costs 8, so that would be pretty tough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But he could have 7 here, and it looks like Sam Black is just going to follow up with a Champion of the Parish, which is going to pump the other Champion of the Parish that's already on the battlefield here. But we are going to see a mulch now from Brad Nelson. And, I talked to Brad about how these matchups go. And he says when he's put under a lot of pressure, which he's going to certainly be here from Sam Black based on Sam's quick start, the game plan is to hoof or Angel of Serenity as quickly as possible. In this case, I've already seen a hoof in his hand.
And a ton of creatures.
And a ton of creatures. And next turn, he is going to be able to Crater Hoof Behemoth, and it might even be lethal. Let's find out. Let's see what Sam does here.
Yeah, Sam is on the green-white aggressive deck that was created by Jackie Lee coming into this tournament.
That's right.
And we just saw him eke out just barely against Jeff Johns in the last round. And here he has got a pretty aggressive start. A couple of Champion of the Parishes attacking with a Rancor on them. But little does he know that Brad's going to play a 5/5 next turn, 8-mana 5/5 next turn. That's going to give all his creatures +5/+5 and trample.
Now he's going to pay 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He would only have one other creature besides the hoof, so it looks like he's going to have to wait a little bit. I see an Unburial Rites in his hand now as well. There's no big fatties in the yard right now, nor does he have.
He would be able to. He has 2 Somberwald Sages, so he'd be able to
he
have
has 2
3
of them,
creatures
6, 7,
that would
8.
get +5/+5.
Okay, so yeah, that could do it. That would. I mean,
That's
the
15,
hoof itself is 10.
20, 21, 22,
He's doing the math right. He's doing the
game.
same math that we're doing right now. He's only got Sam Black is tapped out and only has a 1/1 blocker, and sure enough, hoof engaged triggers. Everybody gets pumped. He's thinking about it.
15
and
+5 +1 is 22, and there's only 1 point of blocking on Sam Black's side. So
that's right. That's the game.
Wow.
Hoofed.
Sam Black's looking like this is turn 4.
This is exactly what happened to poor Sam Black the last time he was on camera against this deck. It happened to be in the hands of Josh Utter-Layton. Raptor did the same thing in Game 2. He just got him with an Angel of Serenity as well. So, yeah, I guess that's just how Brad Nelson's deck goes sometimes. And now we got to move over to sideboarding already. Super quick Game 1 as Brad Nelson is able to dump a bunch of creatures on the board and then cast a Crater Hoof Behemoth.
Man, that was wow.
Giddy
now that's
up.
something exciting that's happening in Standard.
I agree.
So let's look at these players' sideboards. We've seen them before, but it looks like we're going to take a quick look before we do that at Peter Kelly versus Jerry Thompson. Jerry's somebody we've seen a little bit so far. Peter Kelly we've seen quite a bit of. He was the last undefeated in the tournament. Before I believe he took a loss to Reed Duke last round of the round previous. And he's playing also a green-white aggressive deck. Jerry playing the blue-white tempo deck, and we see a Howpack Alpha along with a Fencing Ace and a Judge's Familiar on Peter Kelly's side. Peter sitting at 20 life, Jerry on 10. Jerry needs a little help to get out of this bind. Howpack Alpha is quite a beating along with that Fencing Ace.
Absolutely.
Another Mayor of Avabrook at Peter's hand, but it's Jerry's. Looks like it's Jerry's turn, right, to make some decisions. There's some thought occurring here.
See, he's got another Restoration Angel in hand.
Okay, so this is Peter decided not to attack that turn, just pass the turn and get a token from the Howpack Alpha. Jerry at end of turn is going to cast a Restoration Angel, a second one. It's interesting that Peter decided not to block that turn, mainly because he was afraid of losing one of his creatures to Restoration Angel and maybe losing more to a second Restoration Angel. So it makes sense for him not to attack. Jerry adds to his board and now is able to get in for a little bit of damage while holding back defense. Also, Peter didn't want to cast a spell because cast a couple spells because he didn't want his Howpack Alpha to flip over.
Right.
So Jerry passes it back after that. Peter draws his card for the turn. And he's looking at a Mayor of Avabrook and a second Judge's Familiar in his hand. He'll cast that Mare, giving all of his humans and wolves and werewolves +1/+1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all of his humans get +1/+1, and it turns into Halpak Alpha, which gives all of his werewolves and wolves +1/+1. So all of his humans, wolves, and werewolves get +1/+1 because there's Mare of Averbrook and Halpak Alpha. Jerry casts a Think Twice in a turn. Is he going to flash it back to flip back over the Halpak Alpha? Does not look like it.
Looks like he'd rather just... Yeah.
You know. Oh, it looks like he did cast 2 spells. I thought I only saw the one Think Twice, unless there's a Think Twice that he also flashed back. That's off the table. Am I missing something? Because Peter only cast 1 spell, the Mare of Averbrook. He's still holding onto that Judge's Familiar.
Yeah, he's got to be the same player that casts both spells in order to get one of those guys to transform back.
Either way here, it looks like Jerry flashes back that Think Twice during his main phase.
He played a charm, he said.
Okay.
Must have just cycled it. And it's not actually cycling.
Sure.
It is playing a spell.
Yeah, Jerry Azorius Charmed, and then... he Azorius Charmed the Fencing Ace when it came into attack that we missed because I was blabbing my mouth.
That's okay.
Thank you, Aaron Forsyth. He's keeping an eye out for us. Okay, so what's going to happen here? We see some counting up of damage from Peter, holding that Fencing Ace that got brought to the top of the library thanks to the Azorius Charm of Jerry. He's going to try to cast that Judge's Familiar. He must not have very much faith in having his mares transform by not casting any spells. He'd rather pull out the 1/1 flyer and attack with the team. Now he's got 2/2/2 wolves, 2/2/2 Mare of Averbrooks, and a 1/1 Judge's Familiar. The Mare of Averbrooks both pump each other because they're both humans still.
He's looking to get in a bunch of damage here at the cost of likely a Mare of Averbrook.
Yeah, so if Jerry blocks one of the creatures, one of the non-Judge's Familiar creatures, he takes 6 damage, or 7 damage. If he blocks the Judge's Familiar, he takes 8. He's sitting on 10 life. But we're going to head back to Brad Nelson versus Sam Black. That game's going to finish up. And we see a quick start from both players again. Turn 1 Avacyn's Pilgrim from Brad Nelson and turn 1 Champion of the Parish from Sam Black. Sam Black follows it up with a Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, attacking for 2 damage with the Champion of the Parish. Brad now casts a second Avacyn's Pilgrim, but no second land drop. He passes it back. And that's something that's really important in his deck when he's trying to cast these large spells, right?
That's right.
So
Right, another Champion of the Parish as Sam is going to start mounting huge pressure here as things go forward.
Which one? So there's the second land for Brad Nelson, Cavern of Souls, and he's going to cast Somber Walled Sage. Maybe that's why he kept the hand. He had, quite a few mana producers, and he can get away with.
All right, Cavern's named Angel.
Okay. But Sam's going to keep bringing the beats, attacking with a 3/3 Champion of the Parish, a 2/1 Thalia, and a 1/1 Champion of the Parish. So it looks like it's going to be 6 damage, dropping Brad to 5 life. Now Brad's got to cast something big this turn, or maybe he has to make a couple chump blocks. That Thalia is really hurting Brad, right? In his hand, I see a Lingering Souls and a Mulch, a Grizzly Salvage. No black mana for that Grizzly Salvage.
Yeah, no black mana for the, but even cards like Mulch and stuff take up an entire turn for Brad, thanks to Thalia.
So Brad's thinking, how does he get out of this bind? He can't take another hit from all of Sam's creatures, and he's got to assume that Sam has a Restoration Angel waiting in his hand. Is there a way Brad can get out of this? Brad thinking. He can tap all his lands and both of his Avacyn Pilgrims to play Lingering Souls. He's sitting at 5 life, though, so he's going to have to insta-chump block with them. So he plays Lingering Souls, gets two 1/1 flyers, and passes it back to Sam. Let's see what Sam decides to do. There's no end of turn Restoration Angel, it looks like. He'll just play his land for the turn, crack in with the team. Brad's going to block on the Champions of the Parish. Take 2, go down to 3.
One of the champions is going to die. The other one just gets chumped to, and it looks like a Thrag. No, not a Thrag Tusk. He has to pay 5.
Wow.
And it looks like Brad says, I've seen enough.
Brad's happy enough to take it to a game 3.
I wouldn't say he's happy, but yeah.
Well, I mean,
Garrick Relentless, pretty sweet there. Uh-oh, who is that guy? We get a look at Rashad walking by.
But we'll head back to the quick look of Peter Kelly versus Jerry Thompson. And it looks like that's still the game we were on. I'm not exactly sure. A Sphinx's Revelation must have been cast, right? Jerry's still at 10 life.
I don't see one in the graveyard here. I don't see one in his exiled zone either.
I think Jerry cast Snapcaster Mage and flashed back the Azorius Charm.
You're right.
To prevent.
So, and then there were some blocks and some Azorius Charming, and now it looks like Peter is left with 3 Judges Familiar facing 2 Restoration Angels. We're looking to get life totals for you here.
And looks like
okay, got the feedback up here.
Jerry is
so Jerry's on 3 and Peter's on 11,
but not for long because Jerry's going to cast Sphinx's Revelation here.
Is he only doing it for 3 or what?
For 3 because he wants to make sure he can pay if Peter sacks all of his Judges Familiars, but Peter's seen enough. Scoops up his cards, and Jerry takes that game.
Sphinx's Revelation prompting the concession there.
So there we get a look at the feature match area. Bring it back out. Peter Kelly versus Jerry Thompson. Brad Nelson versus Sam Black, as you've seen. On the back tables, we've got Pat Cox facing off against Pat Chapin, and then Kurt Spice facing off against Brian Eason. And there you get a look at the people who are still in contention, still in day 2. The top tables still very much in the thick of it to make top 8 and still be a champion here. The other people in the hunt for pro points and the cash that Grand Prix allow.
That's right.
There's quite a number of quality players.
Yeah, as we start to move towards the top 8, we definitely see a lot of really big names floating to the top, and I wouldn't be surprised if by the time we actually get to the top 8, not after this round, but after the next, we have a lot, 4 or 5 big names floating around up there.
If you look at these 4 tables, all 4 of these players are in contention for top 8.
Patrick versus Patrick down there, that's a big one.
Yeah. At the very minimum, 2 of these players will be in top 8. Right. So who will be the top 8? We're here at Charleston bringing you coverage all the way through till we crown a champion. So stick with us. Looks like we're going to bring you Game 3, the deciding game between Brad Nelson and Sam Black.
You see Brad Nelson rub his hands together. This is a big one. He knows he's going to need this. He's sitting at 11-1-1. Is the assumption here that if he wins, he's in? I don't know if the draw messes with that or not.
If he wins,
he would be 12-1-1.
loses, there's still a chance. I think win or lose, there's still a chance he can make or miss top 8. Like,
Okay.
if he wins,
the draw kind of throws it off.
yeah, it's unclear because of the size of this tournament whether or not X2-1 will make it.
I see.
And look at Brad. He's looking at his hands just a little soft on what he wants.
You see him rubbing the cards together, trying to make them change, but they're not, Brad. So is he going to keep it?
Looks like Sam is going to mulligan. I think Brad is going to keep.
He did keep it, and it looks like Sam says, all right, I'm mulling. All right, so Brad Nelson looking to top 8 this GP with his Crater Hoof Behemoth deck. He calls it Hoof, there it is.
David Hasselhoof.
And we've seen some really impressive games out of it, including game 1 of this exact match, which was really ridiculous.
Yeah. It was a turn 4 Crater Hoof Behemoth for the game.
For everything, with Sam sitting at like 20 life. Like, he hadn't even touched him yet, and he just killed him in one shot.
So Sam Black going down to 6 cards with his green-white deck designed by Jackie Lee. He switched at the last minute, as we talked about earlier in the coverage. He was coming into this tournament with a Boros deck, I believe.
Yeah, that's what he said. He was looking at a Boros deck, and Jackie said, she told him, try white green.
He was looking for cards. He was like asking for cards.
Yeah.
She's like, your deck sounds terrible. You should play mine.
And he agreed, apparently.
And look at where he is, sitting at 11-2 in top 8 contention.
Mm-hmm. Now, talking about this matchup here, this is post-board, but Brad Nelson really looking to combo off. He's looking to get a Crater Hoof Behemoth or an Angel of Serenity online way sooner than he normally should in order to overwhelm Sam Black's board position. He's not going to be able, against Sam, generally speaking, to take the line where he builds up a bunch of creatures, with Lingering Souls and some mana producers, and then starts using Gavany Township to make them huge. Generally speaking, Sam's deck is going to be much quicker than that.
So Brad starts things off with a turn 1 Arbor Elf. No turn 1 play from Sam.
Yeah, that's a big one. Getting that champion online is a big deal, and sure enough,
turn 2
Somberwall Sage on turn 2 for Brad Nelson is a big one, and it looks like he's going to get a bit of a reprieve, although that is Precinct Captain for Sam Black, and it is going to be able to attack as the board sits. So,
does Brad here have a creature to cast? He's got quite a bit of mana, 7 at his disposal if he's got a land in hand. But does he have a creature with which to exploit the mana advantage he has over Sam Black? I also see a Lingering Souls and an Burial Rites in Brad's hand. I think that green card is a Tracker's Instinct. So Brad's going to cast Tracker's Instinct, maybe? Yep. Use the Arbor Elf to cast Tracker's Instinct. Reveal the top 4 cards. Put one of the creatures revealed into your hand, the rest into the graveyard.
Looks like he's picked up another
Arbor
Elf. Actually, that's an Avacyn's Pilgrim. I'm not sure which one he got off Tracker's Instinct, but either way, does give him access to white, which he had in his hand already with the Hallowed Fountain, and he just ships the turn back. So we're going to see Precinct Captain Bash. It's going to drop Brad down to 18 and make a soldier token. What is Sam's follow-up play? It is an Oblivion Ring on the Somberwalled Sage, so he's like, we're not going to have any shenanigans too soon.
I mean, little does Sam know that Brad doesn't actually have a big creature.
Yeah. But that thing sitting there,
it's so scary.
It's scary, and it certainly gives Brad the opportunity at any point that he digs. He's got a lot of, he's got a Tracker's Instinct in the yard.
And
there's an Angel of Serenity. Yeah. Now, is this an Instinct that he played, or was it a mulch? It is a Tracker's Instinct, so he's going to get an Angel of Serenity, it looks like?
No, I think he's going to take the Arbor Elf, put the Angel of Serenity in the graveyard because he's got Unburial Rites.
Oh, he's already got Unburial Rites in his hand, right? So, indeed, he does exactly that. And he's going to play 3, and he's going to
cast Lingering
Souls.
That's going to give him some breathing room. Even if Sam Black has a couple more creatures, he'll be able to chump block them for a couple of turns. Rancor on the Precinct Captain. That's a beating.
That is a beating, and all the Precinct Captain has to do is actually hit Brad to make a token, so it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen here.
Yeah, Brad's fine, just taking all the damage, taking 5 here, going to 13.
And that is a rest in peace.
Wow.
So it exiles everything, and Sam slams that down on the table with
just in time.
Right in time, and all of a sudden Brad Nelson's plans have gone horribly awry in the sense that he put that Angel of Serenity into the graveyard. It's gone now. He doesn't have a chance to cast that at any point. It's been exiled, and Brad's got to find a different way to try to eke out a victory here against Sam Black. Now, Brad's at 13. Sam's still at 20, but right now Sam is applying a reasonable amount of pressure to Brad, but not overwhelming. Whoop. Brad looks like he's thinking about sending in the 2 spirit tokens. He does decide to go ahead and battle with both.
What is Brad's line here?
And he just ships a turn back, and you see his hands go right up to his temples there as he's got to formulate a brand new game plan. That rest in peace completely changed the way this game was going to play out. Brad was going to be able to unbarrel rights that turn.
Yeah.
Get an Angel of Serenity, take out the captain and the 2 tokens, completely wiping out Sam Black's board and leaving himself with a 5/6 and a bunch of mana producers plus 2 spirit tokens to start battling with. And now all of a sudden he's left with just the spirit tokens and the mana producers, facing down a 4/2 first striking precinct captain and a couple of 1/1 soldier tokens from Sam Black. It's his turn right now. He is contemplating his next move. All right, we're going to game 3 on the other match that we've been checking in on. So depending on how quickly this one finishes up, we might be able to take you guys over there to take a quick look. But for now, we're going to stick with this one.
I mean, this is a very exciting game 3. A lot on the line here. Tournament lives on the line. And 2 breakout decks from this tournament. The Hoof deck and the green-white deck.
The green-white aggressive deck.
Yeah. That's a little different than the green-white decks that we've seen from
That's
Magic
right.
Online.
They've been pushed towards the middle part of the game a little more. All right, Silverblade Paladin. It's going to pair with the Precinct Captain and create a lot more pressure than Sam previously had, and he is going to attack with all of his eligible creatures here. That is now a 4/2 double strike, hitting for 8. Also, it's going to hit him twice. Actually, it's just going to hit him twice straight up here.
Yeah, Brad's just taking all 10, going to 3 life.
And so he gets 2 soldier tokens out of it. It's going to trigger twice, and Brad needs to draw something. You see him carefully peel up the card, and he extends the hand, and Sam Black improves to 12-2 as Brad kind of hastily signs the result slip. He can't be happy with that result. He's now sitting at 11-2-1. We don't know if that has fully eliminated him from top 8 competition, but it's certainly put a huge dent in his plans. We're going to go over to the other match now.
They're going to a game 3.
To the game 3.
So
Sam Black with the Oblivion Ring into Rest in Peace.
Yeah, without that Rest in Peace, Brad Nelson would have been able to untap, cast some Burial Rites in the Angel of Serenity, remove all of Sam's creatures, and just casually go on his way to waltzing right into that win. But we're going to see the final game of the match between Jerry Thompson and Peter Kelly. Just a reminder, Jerry Thompson is on the blue-white tempo deck. We've seen quite a bit of this weekend. Peter Kelly is on a green-white deck, close to the versions we've seen on Magic Online, but it has a lot of disruptive elements. We also haven't seen he's got Judge's Familiar, and he's got Dried Militant in the sideboard.
Yeah. Yep. It kind of takes that Hate Bears approach where the creatures are the ones that are doing the disrupting. He's not relying on separate spells. He's relying on creatures that can attack, block, etc., to take care of the disruption for his deck to give him enough time to finish off his opponent. And Jerry Thompson's deck, of course, is the blue-white. They call it the Flash deck. Basically, its creatures have Flash, and most of the cards that it plays are instants, if not all of them. It does play Augur of Bolas and Runechanter's Pike, but for the most part, it plays a lot of creatures and spells on your opponent's turn. It looks like he's going to get an Azorius Charm here off of an Augur of Bolas. That is a follow-up play. Peter Kelly led off with the Champion of the Parish, which is really the ideal start for his deck.
It's Peter Kelly's turn now. That Cavern of Souls is on humans, so he should be able to cast that Fencing Ace in his hand if he wants, but instead he's going to cast Mayor of Avabrook, a better 2-drop, I think. That's going to give a +1/+1 counter to Champion of the Parish, and it's going to attack in.
It's also going to pump the Champion of the Parish by +1/+1, so it makes it a 3/3, which gives it a profitable attack past the Augur of Bolas, and it looks like Jerry's just going to follow up with another one, but he still doesn't have any great blocks as the board sits. Let's see what he gets here. He's got the 3 Augur of Bolas cards set face down, and he's going to make a decision. It's going to be an unsummon. Now, that's a key one here because what that means is that unless Peter does get that champion of the parish even bigger, he actually doesn't have an attack now, because Jerry would be able to unsummon the mayor and then double block and kill the champion. So let's see what Peter wants to do in his first main. It looks like a fencing ace, so that is in fact going to get the champion of the parish up to a 3-3 plus the bonus from the Mayor of Averbrook makes it a 4-4, and he's just going to unsummon it. That's going to take the counters off of it. And if he doesn't have a white source to follow up, which he does not, he's just going to play a Rancor. Ooh, on the fencing ace, though.
Yeah, that fencing ace, which
That's
is already
scary.
a 2-2, is now a 4-2 fencing ace with double strike. I mean,
That's right.
That's going to be big, but, I mean, Jerry's got a couple of answers. He has an Azorius Charm in hand. He's got a Supreme Verdict if he ever needs to reset things. But Jerry just passes the turn, meaning that the Mayor of Averbrook changes to a Howlpack Alpha and removes that bonus from fencing ace.
That's right. And this really plays well into Jerry's plans of eventually casting a Supreme Verdict to wipe the board. Right now, he can just buy himself some time with his Augurs of Bolas. He can also use Azorius Charm to buy him essentially a whole extra turn, and he's actually looking to be in a pretty good position, I think, here going long. Again, having that Supreme Verdict in hand is a big deal for Jerry's deck versus Peter's, and Jerry is now going to craft the game plan around resolving that spell at the best possible time for him.
Yeah, so fencing ace is going to come in, going to trade with
two Augurs of
Augur
Bolas.
Bolasses.
On Peter's end step, he's going to get a 2-2 Wolf from the Howlpack Alpha, and we're going to see if he wants to commit anything else to the board here. He's got to be careful because Jerry is representing possible Supreme Verdict with the 4 lands that he's got, and it does look like he's passed the turn and then pointed to his Alpha to say, "I'd like to make a Wolf, please." Wolf indeed. He's got kind of a cool-looking wolf there. It looks like he's taken a Sharpie to that token or something. Anyway, so Supreme Verdict indeed. It's going to leave just the Cavern of Souls up, and away goes all the creatures. So
Mayor of Averbrook drawn off the top for Peter Kelly, and now it's Peter's turn to decide.
He's got a champion of the parish as well, so he can make a very similar board state to what he had before with the champion into a mayor.
Yep, so champion of the parish, Mayor of Averbrook.
And is he going to throw the Rancor on something too? I don't really see a reason why not to at this point.
I think you want to do it now in case of an unsummon in response, right?
That's right. Also, you don't want to have to play it on your turn if your goal is to transform your mayor.
Another Supreme Verdict from Jerry Thompson, wiping the board again. Peter gets back his Rancor, of course, because of the ability, and draws a Thalia to go along with a Judge's Familiar that unfortunately, Peter cannot cast. But Thalia will come down, Rancor will start enchanting it.
He had to pay 2 to cast it because it's non-creature.
And Jerry Thompson, sitting up with 6 mana, passes it back.
All right, so he's still in a pretty good position. Jerry's sitting at 17 life, and he's facing down just the Thalia with Rancor on it. He does, I believe, still have that Azorius Charm in hand as well. Looks like he's going to use it. He's going to say, put that on top of your library, and that's just going to set Peter back a ton. Peter used his Gavany Township, but blanked it, and before Thalia even comes back down, Jerry says, I'd like to draw a few cards here. He's going to peel 6, and he's going to make sure that he hits his land drop this turn as well by doing so. That land isn't going to do too much because very likely Peter's going to just follow up with a Thalia, and he can't unsummon it anyway. But hitting land drops, very important for Jerry's deck. He needs to get that momentum going forward. Post-board, this is game 3, remember. Jerry's deck takes a very controlling position. He's really looking to lean on the Sphinx's Revelations and the Supreme Verdicts, where normally he's kind of looking to maintain status quo for as long as possible and eventually get a Runechanter's Pike online. Now, right away we can see that he's got an Angel of Serenity in hand, and that's going to be a huge one here. He does, in fact, play it. He gets 1 Augur of Bolas and then the 2 creatures that Peter had. Rancor is the only thing left for Peter Kelly in his hand. He does get to draw a card for the turn. It looks like a Judge's Familiar, so he can have a Judge's Familiar with a Rancor on it, but that's just not that impressive with no cards in hand facing down an Angel of Serenity.
Yeah, Peter's looking at his cards, just going to enchant the Judge's Familiar with Rancor, pass it back to Jerry. Jerry, firmly in the driver's seat here, attacks in with his Angel of Serenity. Peter drops to 15 life. And let's see what Jerry here can do. He's going to tap some lands. 7.
Does he have another one?
Yeah, another
Oh,
Sphinx's
wow.
Revelation.
He's got to leave the 1 mana up so it doesn't get countered by the Judge's Familiar there, but that's going to be 4 more cards off the top for Jerry. He's going to get to play a Moreland Hunt, and this game looks all but over. Jerry Thompson playing the control role very, very well here with 2.
And Righteous Blow.
Jeez, he's
on
just
the
got it
Judge's
all
Familiar.
here. Righteous Blow on the Judge's Familiar, still has a mana up as well. So, yeah, it looks like Jerry's deck has transitioned over to control quite well with 2 Sphinx's Revelations and 2 Supreme Verdicts being resolved for Jerry. Now, that is a fencing ace with the Rancor on it, so it certainly gets some attention there. But as the board sits here, Jerry's looking in very good position.
The Fencing Ace can potentially get a +1/+1 counter from the Gavany Township and start dealing 8 damage a turn.
Which is a 3-turn clock, but you got to figure that Jerry's got the Unsummons and Azorius Charms and Snapcaster Mages that he needs to make this happen. And there's a Snapcaster Mage.
Azorius Charm likely.
And you know what? Peter says, all right, I've had about enough of this, Jerry. You got me. Extends the hand, and Jerry Thompson moves on to 12-2, putting himself in position to potentially top 8 this event. He needs 1 more win to seal the deal.
A small chance that he's going to be able to draw into the top 8, but it seems unlikely. And it looks like we are going to switch over to Kurt Spice against Brian Eason on table 1 over there. Oh, Brian has already defeated Kurt. And
Patrick Chapin versus Pat Cox is in game 3.
So it looks like we're going to show you some videos. Well,